The time is just gone 8 minutes past 8 a.m. And this morning we kick off taking a look at the 51st anniversary of the killing of anti-apartheid activist Ahmed Timol, rahimahumullah. And it was 51 years later where we've covered quite a bit on the Ahmed Timol saga for a number of years now here at Salam Media. And we know that. When from time to time we've even spoken to the family hasn't had closure for a very very long time, and there has been inquest, there's been a second inquest, and the matter at this point in time is still before the Supreme Court of Appeal. But right now we are going across to be joined by the nephew of the late Ahmed Timol, Imtiaz Ahmed Cajee. Imtiaz, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And as always, Jazakallah for your time.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, United, and many thanks for hosting me.
Yes, wonderful. And we have obviously been following developments very, very closely. And as the years go by, 51 years later, and I've just been reading the profile of your late uncle, rahimahullah, and, very, very inspiring indeed. And I'm sure, as a family as well. But 51 years has meant a lot for your family, Imtiaz.
Inayat, let me just put the discussion into context. The Timol family are of the view that the death of their brother and the reopening of the inquest with the verdict that he had not committed suicide but was murdered in police detention has brought the Ahmed Timol story to an end. And this is what they've expressed in the press release that they've issued this morning. So these are the views of my uncles, Inayat. And obviously, I've got to respect their views. That is their prerogative, that they feel that the reopening of the inquest has brought the subject matter to an end. Now, I, as a nephew who have strived my entire life to fight for truth and justice, disagree with them, Inayat. And my argument is a very simple one, that the man who was found guilty for the murder of my late uncle, João Rodrigues, should have been held accountable for his role in the murder of my uncle. And this is what has transpired since the judgment was issued on the 12th of October 2017. And we now know that Rodrigues' passing in September last year brought the matter to an end because the Supreme Court of Appeal then dismissed the matter of the court role due to his passing. So what I'm simply saying, Inayat, is that, we all have different perspectives and different views as to how we deal with the death of a loved one. And in my particular matter, the Timol family are of the view that the matter has ended at the reopening of the inquest. And I, as a nephew who have strived my entire life fighting for truth and justice, disagree. And with the grace of the Almighty, in the new book, inshallah, that will be coming out, I will clearly make my findings known as to why I disagree with them.
Well, I'm sure, Ismail, and there's a lot that, Imtiaz, there's a lot that you will be unpacking, and for you personally, and also for the rest of the Timol family, it certainly has been quite a struggle in the last 50 odd years.
No, most certainly. And that's why I come back to the point. We should ask ourselves the question since 1990. Should we have just accepted my grandmother testifying at the TRC and left the matter there? Should we not question as to why the National Prosecuting Authority did not pursue the matter in 2003 when I requested them to follow up with all those that were responsible for the arrest and the detention of my uncle? Should I accept that the ruling of the inquest in 2017 brought the matter to an end without pursuing justice and pursuing the man who had all the answers at what happened to my uncle? So it's been a struggle. Nothing happens on its own. And we know very well that in our book, the Quran, the Almighty makes it very clear that the struggle for truth and justice is never an easy one. And I can definitely testify to that.
Imtiaz, what has this actually done to the family? And perhaps if you could give us some sort of an insight as to what the family has actually gone through, because I'm sure that, this has been a priority, it's been a key area of focus for the family for many, many years.
You see people in the families, and remember, I have the honor and privilege of engaging with many families throughout the country. who continue struggling with the death of a loved one. And people respond in their grief in different manners, in different ways. Some accept it that, it was the order of the day, the Almighty had ordained it, and we must accept it and we must move on. My maternal grandparents lived in pain and agony for the rest of their life since the passing of their son. Others accept the fact that, when you have a function to commemorate and to celebrate during an anniversary, that is good enough for them. I differ in it. For me, that is why last year, when comrades of Uncle Ahmed commemorated, his 50th anniversary, I did not participate in it because the journey that I've embarked upon has clearly brought me to the conclusion that there were secret lies and cover-ups in the death of my uncle, not during only the apartheid era, but post-apartheid, in a democratic South Africa and an ANC-led government. There were clear attempts to make sure that those responsible for informing on my late uncle and ultimately responsible for his death were protected. So we have different perspectives, different views, and I ultimately believe that it is not acceptable for me just to accept the status quo and to question the narrative. That is clearly outlined for us that we must just accept and move on.
Yes, but also at the same time, Imtiaz, it gives us an opportunity to reflect on who the person really was. And I know, we have covered the case of your uncle on a number of occasions, and also like in the case of Imam Abdullah Harun as well. One gets actually a deeper insight into the personality. We know we cannot do anything about it right now. It has been the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well. But at the same time, there are many, many valuable lessons that we can take from the lives of people like your uncle.
No, most certainly. I think the simplicity, the humility, the bravery. I mean, it's difficult to grasp and understand, that they were young men and women who were prepared to be arrested, detained, tortured at the hands of the merciless security branch officers. And yet they continued the struggle for truth and justice, the struggle for a better South Africa for all of us that we are enjoying today. Already in the 1960s, my late mother would tell me how my uncle Ahmed would empower her as a woman, to get skills. So she's not just a mother figure in a house, but to acquire skills, to improve her life. The difference he made in the life of students at the Roraport Indian High School. Again, the female students, encouraging them to study. The politicizing of their students in an apartheid-era school, unheard of in the 60s. So they were brave, remarkable men and women who were not afraid, who were not intimidated, who simply put, could not be bought because the apartheid system were ready, because they had many in our communities that they could collude with, that sold out, that betrayed our comrades. And yet these were men and women who were not swayed by the power and influence of the apartheid regime. No money could buy them. They were principled individuals, and yet simple and humble, and valuable lessons for us to learn that very, very disappointedly is very, very rare today in a democratic South Africa.
Well, certainly, Imtiaz, and also I think as you mentioned, lessons that to be taken, and this is where I see personally. I'm sure you've taken a lot from your uncle as well, looking at his life, and you speak about the fight for truth, for fight for justice as well, and this is exactly what it's all about. And also, I think many young people, and I'm sure when the book actually comes up, there's going to be a lot that even young people can take because this seems to be lacking. Because you mentioned they were young men and women, and they were uncompromising in their quest for truth, for justice, and for at the end of the day, we know what a brutal system apartheid was. But again, going ahead, we are living in a world where truth and justice is lacking, and lacking very, very badly. So I'm sure even when the book comes out, there's just so much that young people today can actually take from there.
No, most certainly. I mean, this is not just a book, inshallah, for those that are in the 60s and 70s, but a lesson for me and for the younger generation that the freedom that we've acquired in this country did not come from President de Klerk having a good heart one morning. It came from struggle, it came from strife, it came from blood that young men and women had spilled. And we should cherish this. And that is why today, Inayat, with all the challenges that we face in the country, the uncertainty, I mean, the maladministration, the corruption. the opportunists that are floating around everywhere talking about truth and justice, and yet they do it selectively. These are all lessons for us to embrace and to reflect on and to ask ourselves the question: what role are we playing to build a democratic South Africa? Do we continue to be racist? How do we treat our workers, our fellow general assistants at home? How do we treat our neighbors? Are we also involved in corruption? You see, we cannot criticize selectively. We have to be role models, and in our own corners, in our own homes, we need to continue doing the right thing, because I think we've lost the moral compass. And inshallah, with the grace of the Almighty, that this book will be beneficial to the youth as well.
Yes, interesting, Imtiaz, that you mentioned we've lost a moral compass, and I suppose one of the reasons for this is apathy on our part, where we see so much taking place, we see so much injustice around us, but we just don't want to stand up, and we see complete apathy in terms of even political participation, and this is sad because what legacy are we going to be leaving for future generations?
No, no, most certainly. We must be armchair critics and criticize constructively. But we have to do introspection, and we need to be reflecting on what role are we playing. Are we making a difference? Do we selectively enjoy the benefits when it's comfortable and convenient for us? When we need to confront those in positions of power, we back off. One of the observations I've made over the years, Inayat, is that how easily people get swayed. And it's not just politicians who get bought. People in civil society, on a societal level, very easily get manipulated. All you need to do is you need to provide funding for their foundations. Let them support one political individual within a political party, and they're completely swayed. So these are very, very important questions that needs to be confronted. And the reality is that if we don't stand up and speak up for truth and justice, we will find fake imposters who will be standing up and speaking on our behalf. And the unfortunate reality is many of them are just as corrupt.
Exactly, Imtiaz. And these are questions that people like your uncle Ahmed Timol had confronted, and that is the reason why we are having this discussion today. But also, just looking ahead, the book that you speak about, how far are we away, and what can we expect, Imtiaz?
Now, inshallah, very soon, with the grace of the Almighty, the book will be published in ayat. And I think it will put into context, because I'm making a very, very strong argument in ayat that my journey, finding truth and justice for my uncle, is directly linked to the current political instability in this country. And it all goes back to the political settlement, the negotiated settlement in this country, where, inshallah, with the grace of the Almighty, I will explain to the ordinary public out there that there's direct synergy, that there's a direct link as to how my struggle for truth and justice was curtailed by those in political power to protect the political elite.
Well, we're certainly looking forward to the day the book is published and launched as well, Imtiaz. And as always, we appreciate you taking time out, talking to us here at Salam Media. We wish you all the best, your family all the best as well, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Imtiaz Ahmed Cajee, the nephew of the late Ahmed Timol, rahimahumullah, commemorating the 51st anniversary and also unpacking a number of issues, a lot of food for thought, a lot that we need to think about, we need to consider as we live in a society, we live in a world where injustice prevails in more ways than one. The time is just gone 8:22. We come back, we will be highlighting today a significant, the 27th of October, Jammu and Kashmir Black Day with Salman Khan.